We're at the Melrose Falls Union High School. And one of the things we've missed, but I'm gonna put it on there before we adjust the agenda, I would like to pledge the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Adjustments to the agenda on 9, I'd like to put an A. We had tabled a motion for the BLM flag, and it was tabled to come to this meeting, which I missed that, so we're gonna add that to the agenda is 9A. Review, anybody else have any adjustments? Looks like we have none. Review and approve board minutes of March 28th. Anyone have any adjustments on the meeting minutes? June,
On page 4, my name is spelled incorrectly under 8. Under the A's. She just needs to spell my name all out. I think her brain got ahead of her fingers.
got it. So June Street. Anything else, June?
That's all I had.
Priscilla,
Yeah, on that same page. When Jason questioned the conflict of issue, he questioned a teacher on the negotiation committee, not a former teacher.
It was mentioned that I am a former teacher in Rockingham.
Right, and a teacher at this point, so we can put both if you want.
so it says the issue with having our new board member who is a former teacher, which that is correct, right?
In Rockingham,
Okay, and what was the other? I don't see,
and a teacher in Chester. She talked about both.
so you just want to add Rockingham and a former teacher in Rockingham and where else?
And a current teacher in Chester. Is that correct, Pam?
Yes,
And then on page 2, the motion to table, the motion was to table the motion until the next meeting that we voted on.
Absolutely.
So Pamela, I want to double check with you, because I make this mistake all the time. My wife's name is Pamela and I call her Pam or Pammy, but I just want to make sure, because I thought you had wanted a specific name the last time. So I just want to make sure, because I'll screw it up.
I prefer Pamela. I go by Pamela. I have a coworker who goes by Pam. It really helps differentiate between the two of us, but my personal preference is Pamela.
Thank you. As Priscilla said it, all of a sudden I was like, oh no, my brain, and I didn't want to,
Yeah, and Molly, can I apologize to Pamela for doing that? I know she said that at the last meeting. So. Because I know how names are important.
Thank
Any
you.
other? Jason,
Molly, I know that after the presentation of the Black Lives Matter flag, there was it was almost like a roundtable discussion of all the directors with comments, but I don't see them in here anywhere. I could be wrong, but if somebody else sees them, please.
They're on second to the last page.
well, that's our director.
Those are the directors.
So it was like right after the Grace's presentation, but I don't,
I think it was just condensed into.
it goes into bullet
actions.
points, so I just,
And if it's Molly, on the first
Whoa,
page,
slow down.
there's 8.
Stop. Jason was talking. Thank you.
So yeah, so there's 8B, then there's a presentation, but then it goes into Pastor Noyes, Mr. Vanek, Chuck Lawrence, and then June made a motion, but I know specifically I was talking about the American flag, and that's not in there. And I don't remember exactly what I was saying, but I know everyone had comments and I don't see them anywhere. Are they supposed to be there, or is it just conjecture? Or?
Typically, you try to grab, you don't do a verbatim, but if there are people missing, we can go back and I can ask them to double check those. Just to have a point that each person made a comment or whatnot, so I apologize.
Okay, thank you.
Brenda, did you have something?
Oh, no, I was just agreeing that you didn't have, none of the board was in there.
Priscilla, do you have something you'd like?
No, I mean, if Jason wants that added, that was fine. I just was pointing out that they were there and I thought he had missed it. So I was trying to tell you that that's where they were. Molly, sorry if I interrupted.
So do we want to approve these minutes or do you want
Dave
those
Clark,
comments?
Molly, I have an adjustment to those minutes as well. I did not participate in the executive session. That's not reflected in the minutes.
Got it. Would we like to approve the minutes or would you like to have them come back next month?
If we're adding in the discussion, I would like to wait till next month.
Okay. So I think that's probably a good idea. We are not going to approve the minutes for March 28th until we get all the corrections done. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Communication and public comments. Andrea?
Could I ask just if people can come, the closer you are to the microphones, the owls, it's better for picking up sound. Yeah, so I'm just saying that because it doesn't always pick up the sound the best.
Hi, everybody. My name is Andrea Carlson, and I'm a resident of Westminster, a parent of a 9th grader, and a school counselor here at Bellows Falls Union High School. I wanted to start by taking a moment to acknowledge the courage and bravery of Grace Warriors and recognize how impressive it was to see an intelligent, thoughtful, and well-spoken student take the time to speak at the last minute about something that is extremely important to her. She was exceptionally poised, even while facing a room full of some might consider angry white men. Thank you, Grace. I would also like to give some context as to why students and staff at BFUHS may have signed the petition that she shared. I want to be clear that I'm not here to discuss the Black Lives Matter flag, although I do support it being raised. I've worked here for 20 years, and during that time in my role as a counselor, it has been reported to me numerous times each year that racial incidents happen regularly in our school community, unfortunately, as they do in every high school in Vermont. In my role as a parent, it has been reported to me that racial incidents happen regularly at BFUHS. Imagine being a Black student sitting at lunch and you hear a student say, "Black lives don't matter." At the last meeting, it was reported that a student attending the meeting said that exact thing in the cafeteria. Any student of color who heard that was impacted, as were their white allies. Let's imagine that hearing that felt like being punched. Imagine hearing the N-word said repeatedly at school, as many students do not realize that even though they hear it in a song, it does not make it okay to say. Each time the N-word is said, it's another punch. Imagine being an Asian student sitting in the library and a student across the room looks at you and slants their eyes and laughs. Again, it's like a punch in the gut. Imagine sitting in class and the N-word is written on your desk. Another punch in the gut. Jewish jokes, Mexican jokes, Muslim jokes, punch, punch, punch. Some days we have students walk out of our building and they feel like they've been punched a dozen times. They leave the high school with the message that their lives don't matter. Do you think those students want to come to the school? Do you know that they are unable to learn because they feel unsafe? Do you know that BIPOC students are less likely to graduate high school than their white peers? Did you know that every year BIPOC students in the Wyndham Northeast Supervisory Union District choose to go to school elsewhere because they are aware of the lack of diversity and the racism at BFUHS? Do you realize that our students are at a disadvantage when they leave BFUHS because they have no clear understanding of diversity and equity? The impact is large. I imagine you are wondering what is currently being done about this. When incidents of racism are reported, our administration acts swiftly to investigate and respond. Harassment is not tolerated at BFUHS when it is reported. Unfortunately, most incidents are not reported. Students are scared to make reports as they fear retaliation or they don't want more attention brought upon them. When you look around and barely anyone looks like you, it is intimidating to speak up and make a report. I hear about it regularly in the counseling office. Students are scared. What else is being done? 5 years ago, I joined the WNESU Diversity and Equity Committee. Since joining, I'm sad to report that very little, other than an amazing diversity art exhibit in town, has been done to address the racism that exists in our school. There is a small group of staff who volunteer their time to attend a meeting outside of the school day once a month, and we do not have the resources or power to make the change needed. So now what? I believe we need someone in the district whose job or part of their job is to create and lead a diversity and equity program to help make our schools safe for everyone. We need all the school board members, administrators, teachers, support staff, food service employees, custodians, and bus drivers to have anti-bias and anti-racism training. We need a full-time restorative practices person at the elementary and middle schools and a full-time restorative practices person at the high school. The need is too great to have one person spread across all of the schools. With a robust diversity and equity program and restorative practices program, our students can learn how to be respectful, caring, and welcoming to everyone, no matter what they look like, where they are from, or what their faith is. Programs such as these could potentially improve our graduation rate and bring back students in our community who choose to go to other high schools. At this point, when someone walks into the high school, they do not feel like all lives matter. We need to fix that. We need all students to feel safe when they come to school so they can learn and graduate and become outstanding members of our community and whichever communities they may end up in. Thank you for your time. I know you're all here because you want to make sure every student is given the best education possible. And because of this, I feel assured that you will do what is needed to address this issue.
Anyone else have any comments?
Jessa has a hand raised.
Who?
Jessa, online.
Yes.
Hello. I don't have prepared remarks for tonight. I'd forgotten about the meeting, but I did want to stand up and just express my dismay at some of the displays of ignorance that went on last time we all met here. There is a point where willful ignorance becomes malice, and certain people who spoke definitely have reached that. That is embarrassing as a taxpayer, as one of your constituents, as a parent of a child in this district. I can see why a lot of people don't feel safe there. There was a group assembled behind some of the board members that certainly looked like they were there to intimidate a 17-year-old girl. But I guess my biggest concern that I just want to raise is that you're in charge of the education of an entire district. And the level of ignorance displayed was a bit horrifying. Brattleboro has a big chapter of the National Socialist Club, which is a white supremacy and Nazi organization. Springfield has multiple white supremacy organizations that have had events in front of the co-op, and the extreme naiveness or mental gymnastics to think that it's not happening in your district is a bit disturbing. It definitely happens. There's trucks with Confederate flags on them, and those kids might not know what it means, or they do, and you're ignoring it. So I would like to see more education for the board members. I would like to see people at least pretending they know a little bit more about what's going on just in our tiny local microcosm. Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments for public comments? I see none.
Michelle.
Michelle?
Yeah, hi. I wasn't planning to speak, but I guess I wanted to ask a question first. It was my understanding from looking at the agenda for the upcoming meeting on 4/25 that there was going to be a committee that was looking into the BLM flag issue, and that the issue was warned for 4/25. So I'm a little surprised to see that a decision is being made about it today, because I thought that there was going to be some more processing and that a decision was going to be made in 2 weeks. So I guess it's more of a question than a statement. What happened with that? Because I know some people that were planning to come and make statements on 4/25 because that's where it was warned. And the fact that it was changed on short notice is a bit of a concern to me, because I think it's really important that we have time to process this issue fully with input from the community. I know a woman who has a very extensive diversity background who wanted to talk to board members before this was decided about, and she hasn't had a chance to talk to people yet. So I guess if it's appropriate for me to ask that question, I would love to hear, does it have to be today that you make the decision, or could you keep it as it was warned for the 25th after you've had time to look at some of the issues that came up the last time? Like, would it make sense to consider a policy that would have different flags able to fly, not just BLM, but other flags? Because I know that was an issue that came up the last time.
Michelle, normally we don't answer questions during public comments, but I will tell you that there will be, we're not going to take any action tonight. This is a policy. This is something that needs to be written in the policy.
Yeah.
We've only had 2 weeks. It takes time to draw a policy out. Policy has to be out for 10 days for read before it gets approved, and then it comes back to the board. This is not going to get anything done now. It's not going to get anything done in 2 weeks. This takes time.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad to hear that. I heard an announcement at the beginning of the meeting, and I wasn't sure exactly what that meant. So thank you. I appreciate you taking care to do a thorough investigation of this issue and consider it carefully. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anything on that screen?
Nothing on the screen.
Okay. We need to move into executive session for student matter. Can we move to the fishbowl?
We can.
Let's do that.
Possibly makes sense to put it later in the meeting.
Nope, we have parents waiting.
Oh.
And I had the verbiage, but can somebody help me with the verbiage to go into executive session to protect student and
Move to go into executive session to discuss a student matter that public knowledge could cause adverse effect upon
thank you very
the
much.
student, and invite administration.
All those in favor of going to executive session, Deborah,
Aye.
Pamela,
Aye.
that's all I got there, right?
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Brenda,
Yes.
June, David,
Abstain.
Priscilla,
Aye.
Margot? Yeah. So I can't go into the fishbowl, can I? Because we have people on Zoom.
Well, I got my guru right here, so
Okay.
I was gonna call on him. He's quicker than I could get to him. So
I thought we could move maybe quicker than kicking the,
it may take a minute here, just,
We don't have to.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we're in a breakout room, so,
Just have two of them,
yep, they're gonna come with us.
but not all.
No, so just Deb and Pam are gonna be invited to a breakout room. Pamela, pardon me. See, I'm gonna do it. I'm sorry. So, all right. Down here. Deb, can you hear us?
Right, disconnected.
No, she's.
Oh, she's from video.
Oh.
I heard she was deep in thought. No, I'm not.
Trying to go slow so we didn't make the girls on Zoom sick.
Yeah.
I'll say about leaving.
You have to push everything.
Is that the next item?
We are out of executive session with no action taken. Oh, we're not there yet. Sorry, got ahead of myself. It's never gonna go away.
What?
So we just have it from here.
Yeah.
Yes, it's gone away.
Every bit.
Got 30 seconds. 30 seconds. I can't get the depth.
The problem I have is.
We got 10 seconds here.
You know,
Well,
patience isn't my strong point.
It's a virtue. 6, 5, 3. It's gonna magically appear.
That's what I'm waiting for, is Deb.
So we see Deb right, that's when you know. Oh,
There you
there she
go.
is.
We are coming out of executive session with no action taken. Number 6, presentation from science teacher and tour of the labs. We just did that. Not with you though.
All right, let me get this.
Can I say?
Yes.
That'd be great, thanks. I shared a presentation with Andy, and just to introduce myself, I'm Kristen Gottschalk, Science Department Coordinator. Teacher, it's my 26th year teaching here. This year will mark that I've been teaching here half my life at the end of the year, so that's kind of scary. Thanks for taking the time to listen today. Molly invited me to present to the board and the community about the current state of the science lab facilities. So,
So while we're waiting for Andy, I'd just like to take a second if I can.
sure.
So I invited the science department to come here because we had an ESSER meeting, which is our grant money. No, it wasn't ESSER, I'm sorry, it was Haver. And as we were speaking about how we were going to maybe use this money we had, this lady was sitting over here going. And so I've been on this board for quite a while and had never had it brought to my attention that maybe our science labs were back in the 1940 type things. We got sinks that don't work and no gas. And so when I heard that, that is why we're here, because, you know, until we know that, we can't help fix it. And if that is the case, then, you know, that's part of our job as board members, is to try to make sure that, you know, we're doing the right thing fiscally to make sure our teachers can teach our kids and have them ready for their career paths or college or wherever they go. So that's why we're here, because I was very interested in her hand going like this because she brought up points that I had never heard. So here we are. Thank you for
Sure.
coming.
No, thank you very much. So do I snap my finger?
Yeah, there you go. That's all you gotta do.
So.
You can throw a bottle at me.
Well, I'd rather.
No.
So the little PowerPoint type presentation I have might take 10 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes, but again, I'm happy to take a walk through the science lab with anybody who wants to go and see stuff. Just ignore my message. I'll be covering just the age of the labs, the safety, college preparedness. I've got some pictures. We can do the walkthrough. And then in terms of the proposal, we're just at the very beginning stages. So I'll just talk briefly about forming a committee and figuring out how to get an estimate and stuff like that. So who knows the answer? The science lab's original from when the building was built in what year? Board members?
69, 70.
69. Oh, you've got a hand here.
1972, I believe.
Oh, I heard 70. Jim DeBell told me 70. I have a prize for the winner.
Probably right.
Jim DeBell's probably right. Then Andy gets the prize. There you go. But you can have one too if you want.
First graduating class was 72.
First graduating
No,
class.
76, 5, 4, 73, 72, 73 class was the first one that graduated
Okay.
from here.
a little bit of fun, but point being that the science labs are the original labs that were created at that time. And if you try to imagine the advancement in science technology since 1970, I'm sure you could picture that things have changed since then, right? So many parts of the lab are damaged, non-functional. I'd put a couple pictures up there. On the left, you just see some graffiti and broken cabinet latches and things like that. In the middle is a non-functional hood, like a chemical hood where you mix chemicals and it's supposed to ventilate properly. The third picture over is just a surface that goes around the sink, like this stone chemical resistant surface that borders the sink. That's just resting there. It would move if you moved it like I did for the picture. And then that top picture, that's kind of hard to tell what it is, but there's some gas and water faucets that don't do anything. And they're just this big lab station, multiple large lab stations that just take up space. They're basically a place to put your table against at this point. And there's a little bit of the psychology, I threw this in here because it interests me. The psychology of messy areas is that disorder breeds more disorder. When an area is trashed, so to speak, kids keep trashing it. And if stuff is nice, kids think, oh, this is a nice thing, we should take care of it. And this is just something that's been proven time and again in psychological research. Another issue is safety. I threw a few pictures up here. That first one on the left is duct tape over a open outlet, electrical outlet that shouldn't really be used. So we put duct tape over it. You can see that the faceplate there is broken. That probably wouldn't be a difficult fix at all, but there's just like sharp edges and there's, things that I'm not an OSHA person. I don't know that it violates anything officially, but it doesn't feel very safe sometimes. And along things I don't have pictures of, or we do have an updated IWAR station and chemical shower, emergency shower in the chem lab. Our new chemistry teacher who joined us last school year was adamant about updating that material, and that has been great. And we can take a look at that if we go through the lab. But I would say that we need updated IWAR stations in some of the other areas too. This is what a college lab looks like. So college preparedness is another really important reason why we need to update the labs, because students who, even if they're excellent students, strong science students going into the sciences, if they walk into a college lab for the first time, they might feel a little bit unprepared. I have another slide. The next slide is also a college lab. This is another one. And I actually got a quote from a former student. The first time walking into a college science lab was intimidating. It was a shock to see that much new equipment. Now, obviously, any kid could be nervous, whether they're prepared or not walking into a science lab, but we don't want to create a situation where they're feeling a little bit behind the eight ball. Most high school labs look like this. I got the picture on the left from Springfield, Massachusetts high school. I can't remember where the one on the right was from, but this is what a typical science lab that's up to date looks like. And the reason I chose these two pictures is that they show both the stationary water and gas resources around the periphery of the first room, around the perimeter, with rolling lab tables to facilitate rearranging if needed. And then that second picture shows more of a fixed lab station with the sink and gas built in, and of course, electrical outlets and things like that. That's kind of that's pretty standard. Most high schools that you walk into are going to look more like that. And this is another one that shows the rolling lab tables with the more fixed units on the periphery. So this is just a quick little map of the science department lab areas. They're listed by name. We have an unusual building, so we have trouble. We don't have room numbers. We just list things by name. Mr. Norkin's old room, we're hoping to hire Mr. Peister for the fall. Number 2 is a former science computer lab, but since we went to one-to-one Chromebooks, we don't really have a need for a computer lab, so to speak. Number 3 is my room. Number 4, Mr. Arrow, the physics lab, and number 5, the old Miss Steiner's room, chemistry lab is now Miss Murray's room. So I just put together on the next slide a table of what we would want in each room. This may be more information than we need at this point, but some Some labs could have the fixed stations on the perimeter and then movable lab tables, and then other rooms could have more the fixed stations. Like the chem lab, I think is pretty traditional. You need the fixed, maybe you don't need it, but it's good to have that fixed station with the gas and the water and the electrical right there. Other teachers, if they're using the lab tables a little bit less frequently, they might prefer just the perimeter, all those resources on the perimeter, and then being able to move the tables with those casters on the bottom of them. But like I said, that might be more information than you need. We need a committee. In the past, and since I've been here 26 years, I can think of 2 or 3 other times where, broaching the subject of, can we renovate the labs? We really need to renovate the labs. The department had been asked, come up with a plan, come up with and asking the teachers to get out a piece of graph paper is just kind of impractical. Like, I'm not a contractor. I'm not a plumber. I'm not an electrician. I don't know how these things work. I don't even really know how to estimate the costs of all this, to be honest with you. But that's why I think we need a committee. And I did find a few resources, though. A few companies. The first one is in Massachusetts. The other 2 I'd have to do a little bit more research on, but all 3 of these companies will do high school, well, any school, they do college also, lab renovations. And so at least I got started, and there's links on there if we want to know more about companies that do that, to try to get a sense of what we're taking on. But luckily, the chemistry teacher was part of a committee at one of her older schools that did do lab renovations, and she has a little bit of background in terms of what safety requirements you need for the chemistry lab, and she could tell me a little bit more about what might be expected. I mean, when her school did it, it took a long time, and that concerns me. I would really ideally you'd get it all done during the summer, obviously. I do know some schools have construction going on during the school year, but those tend to probably not be open concept schools. I can't imagine jackhammering through the concrete floor to put down new water lines while school's in session. I don't think that would really work. So that's basically my presentation.
Thank you.
Sure.
Would the members like to take a 5-minute walk through the science labs, or did we just see what we need to see?
Pamela has a question also.
Pamela,
Hi, Pamela.
Hi. So I just wanted to say that I would be actually interested in being the board member. I know what the science labs look like. My son was a former student at Bellows Falls for his 9th and 10th grade year. And I did get a chance to walk around the labs then. And I know they desperately need updating. And I agree that I think it's the right move for us to do. And I would be fully supportive of this.
You're saying you'd volunteer to be on the committee? Is that what you started with?
Yes, I do. And as an educator, I can understand, because we want really good stuff to prepare our students for the future. And we need the correct tools to do such. So I'm fully in support of that.
Thank you.
Jason,
Scott, Chuck, we've never met, but you've had all my kids, and next year you're getting another one, Addison.
Great.
In high school. When my son John won the RPI Math Science Award. I'm embarrassed what that looks like. I mean, that outlet cover for the outlet, that's a 57-cent fix. I mean, I don't know why I'll go do it right now.
Right.
You know what
If
I
it
mean?
were only that, yes.
And I don't understand that if we're preparing our kids, we're preparing them to fail. And we have this nice, I don't know what this thing costs right here, but we don't need this. We don't need this television screen right here that costs God knows what, when we can fix things that need attention right now. And I don't even think we need a committee. Just, I don't understand why we do things the way we do things in the school or in society. It doesn't make sense to me. So, in the restaurant business, you have to remodel your restaurant every like 5-6 years. You have to give it a whole new scheme, or you don't get customers. And it's kind of the same thing here. And it's probably not even just a science department. It's probably a lot of departments here. And that's sad to me that what are we doing? It doesn't make sense to me. So I fully support whatever you need.
Thank you.
So,
It doesn't sound like we're getting any complications here. It's,
Well, no, I wasn't expecting to, but
I think, I think the pictures have shown us, pictures are worth 1,000 words, right? And just by listening to the last time I talked to you, it was obvious that we needed to give it some attention, so we've started the ball rolling. You have a board member. I honestly believe, Jason and I are kind of in that business where maybe we know people who do things like this, but probably you have done what you need to do by finding a company that actually works in student labs, because, people around here, you have plumbers and electricians, but do you really have companies close to us that know what a lab ought to have in it? I think we need to, you need to pursue those and at least get some figures and see what we're doing. Nothing's gonna get done this year.
of
Everybody's,
course.
but let's.
I don't even really know how a project this big, don't you pay for a detailed estimate? I mean, you can't get like a free estimate the way you could get a free estimate if
That's
you
right.
renovate your bathroom, right?
Sometimes, depends.
With the science.
It depends on the company you speak to.
If it's what they do and they ship a crew in here to do it, then
Okay.
they may, but they at least ask the question.
Yeah.
It wouldn't hurt to ask the question, and then if we've got to, if we've got to vote on some money, then we'll do that, but come to us with what you're looking for.
A lot of times might get someone in to give you some estimates and give you some numbers. You gotta be careful because of the bid process, because you can't give that person a head start type of stuff, but when you do a bid and goes out the bid, and then you get your hard numbers.
Right, I think this is why I need a committee,
Yeah.
because I don't feel like,
Yeah.
and one of the reasons it hasn't happened yet is that this kind of thing needs a champion. This needs somebody to push for it and do all the work after school and at night, and we've all got dinner to make and kids to feed and stuff like that. So that's probably why it hasn't happened yet, and I would love any help from
It's gonna happen.
Pamela,
now.
anybody else would be awesome.
Priscilla,
I'll correct myself first. It was 71, 72 was the first year that we had students. No. David had 70. He's probably absolutely right. How about the floor outlets? When I was here, I had one of my students who was down there. It wasn't my class. It was one of the science ones that stuck something in one of the outlets and shocked it, and the outlet wasn't working after that. Are any of the floor outlets working? Do they need repair? Some of them still, or have they been fixed?
A few years ago, Jim DeBell put metal covers over either all or almost all the floor outlets as a safety measure. Many, many years ago, we had a girl who had safety pins on the cuff of her jeans, and it was like bell bottoms, and one got caught in one of the outlets, and there were sparks flying, and she couldn't get her pant leg out. That scared. So I won't say names, but anyway,
good.
yeah, I can find out that information in detail. I'm pretty sure that all the floor outlets are covered. If they're not, I think it's as simple as putting a metal, similar to the faceplate, but putting one metal thing.
And all working or need some attention, probably.
I can't answer that.
That one was,
That's why we're doing it.
Yeah,
thank you.
sure.
Thanks.
Anything else?
I think we're good.
Open invitation to any board members who do want to look through the science lab at any time.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Superintendent update.
So we pass it out ahead of time. In the thinking of time, I can go through it, or if anyone has any questions, I can try and answer those questions.
Give us a 2-minute overview.
2-minute overview.
Okay.
2 minutes. So right now we're working on finalizing Sr1 funds. They are finished in September of 22 here. The state is going to put a freeze on any amendments in the month of May. So we're working with the business office. That was our initial push, was to clean that up, to capture any funds. So we're not giving any funds back to the state, and then we'll move on to Sr2. So we're feeling pretty confident right there that we're able to capture those pieces. We're working to fill some open positions. I will have a candidate before the SU board for the Director of Innovation and Instruction next Wednesday. And we're excited about that. Sarah Doran has joined us. She's our Director of After School Programming. Heather Marquez also has joined us. She is our newest home to school liaison, working with our family engagement team. We're excited to have her on. And then we've got some folks for summer programming that are coming on board. We should have brochures and everything out, very soon. All the buildings have been working on emergency planning. And then as an administrative team, we're going to be reviewing them just after break, seeing what we need to kind of shore up. And speaking of break, that is going to be next week. We are also our recovery team, excuse me, has been working with Focus Schools. They're an outside group developing our strategic plan. And we'll be using this plan to help complete our continuous improvement plan, our SIP plan. Then I handed out a board guidelines, a guidebook to board members with Robert's rules. So,
Good job. You had 7 seconds left. So I have what you sent out was something Chris Pratt had worked on for school board guidelines. Did you really look at that? That's got some real odd stuff in it.
that was not Mr. Pratt.
Well, it had his name all over it. So anyways, we just need to look at that and reissue it.
I think you were,
There was
someone else sent out Mr. Pratt's.
Okay,
Not
Jack
sent.
Breyer sent out Mr. Pratt's and
okay,
the other one is.
perfect. Any questions for Mr. Haas? All right, Mr. Broadley, can you do it in 2 minutes?
Yeah, mine's not as glamorous.
Here we go.
A lot of basic updates. So the HVAC, M&E Engineering was selected at the last meeting to accept the bid and monitor the job throughout. The first phase of the ESSA submission was approved under the concept approval. Next, the job needs to be designed and we'll submit the project approval request and then a more accurate price for the complete job after we get a bid on doing the job. This will hopefully be approved and then we can set a timeline for completion. Mike hasn't got back to me since I initially was in touch with Mike Sullivan. Thank you, David. Mike Sullivan is our contact with M&E, and I think they're just getting busier, as they go along. But he was very happy to know that we had selected them and that we would be getting on. And I said once we had the PO, which should be ready any day now, we'll get it to him and get him working and going to get that job moved forward. The automatic shutdown for the HVAC on wings B and C. Now, just a quick update. Wings A and D. D is the main academic wing, and A is the down with the shop and speech and language are housed, and our transportation are housed. They are under the newer HVAC equipment, and it has an automatic shut off if we do have any fire or any smoke, excess smoke, and the alarm were to go off. They would automatically shut down. B and C, unfortunately, because of their age, they would need to be shut down manually. Now, we had the alarm company come in and meet, and they had the electricians come in to meet with them to devise exactly how the job would be done, who would do what to connect what. And both parties were clear when they finished, they were good to go. Parts are ordered, and unfortunately, they're expected for June, to arrive in June. Maintenance and administration are trained on the manual shutdown of these units in case of fire. Now, that really only covers 6 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. And there was a suggestion as well that, okay, during the night when no one's here, what could happen? I had, in talking with Sean and Sean Burke, our head of maintenance, We talked about maybe the possibility of shutting down B and C during the night. Might help this short-term problem. I spoke with Cole today about his opinions of what we might do, because many heads are better than one. And we're going to meet tomorrow so that we can show our emergency response and fire chief how the units can be shut down manually, which I think, Cole, and don't let me speak for you, but I think that if there is a fire, your guys will be on first response and be able to come in, and you could shut them down also. So again, it's just adding on to our repertoire until we get these automatic shutoffs done in the next few months. So I don't know if Cole wants to add anything onto that, but
yeah, my only concern was shutting them down from 11 till 6 in the morning, then you're playing catch up for how long?
Yeah.
So we might be better off to come up with a plan. If there is a fire, an emergency, something, we know where to shut them down, how to shut them down, rather than just shutting them off arbitrarily.
thank you. Number 3, the polychlorinated biophenols testing update. We talked about it at the last meeting. There's a concern around the state of buildings that were built before 1980, which this one is. Might have an issue with PCBs, as they're called, in their building materials, typically caulk and the fluorescent light ballasts. Starting in the spring of 2020, schools will begin testing. DEC has hired a consultant, and that's the, I can't remember exactly what that stands for, but that's on the Agency of Natural Resources website. It's people who they trust in finding consultants to do the indoor air testing for these PCBs. And they're actually listing all the schools that need to be done. And then they're going to post it on their website, and they'll contact us when our testing will be due, or when they're going to be able to do it. And I've put on there certainly for the board in a link there, the full explanation that you can go in and read all the ins and outs of what is actually on the Natural Resources website. Our electrical generators, the project's almost ready to begin. We got a final letter of approval to get started. We're just waiting for the PO to come from the head office, and then this will allow us to get right into getting these generators ready to go. It's new electrical equipment and new programmed equipment, and that'll help us with both our demand and prime responses. Again, demand response being if we have a power cut or a breakdown, and prime responses when we could use it to certainly respond to Green Mountain Power in a high usage time, and therefore giving us a lower cost rate charge to our electric bill. Then we're working on to secure our air permit and federal regulations which go with that once the job is complete. Bathroom use. In the last few months, we've been experiencing a rise in the number of students vaping at school. Very, very tricky, very hard. Kids are very tricky, as you all are probably aware. It's presented as a big challenge. And when we're alerted of a student undertaking this action, we follow our usual actions for the students found in possession. These kids are very, very, very tricky between hiding it in ceiling tiles, putting it under trash bags, flushing it down the toilet, hiding it somewhere bodily that they know will not be searched. It presents as a really big challenge. And the consequence of, we would consequence with following up, but again, it's finding out if they have these devices on them when it goes off. We are working with Mr. Haas and looking to install environmental sensors, which we have one in our young ladies' bathroom next to our counseling office, and it has proved very efficient in measuring the level of vape that goes on when it goes on, And it allows us, and I don't know if you want to speak more, Mr. Murphy, to it, because he's been our go-to guru on this, where he'll get a notification and then normally it's him, but he'll turn up outside the door and wait for the student to walk out. And then we go from there. So again, hopefully we're going to move forward with these environmental sensors to have them in all bathrooms, and just give us one more thing to keep us on our toes, to keep after our students. SBAC testing, 9th and 11th grade, Smarter Balance Assessment, this is state testing. We're going to administer it to all 9th graders, the math and ELA on 4/26 and 4/28. And the 11th grade students will be doing their SBAC science testing on 4/28 as well. Trying to cut down on disruption of days, doing it over 2 days, and getting it all done to meet state required testing. Sorry, that was more than 2 minutes, but
That
I did my
was-
best.
Yeah, that was
Thank you.
9.5.
I know why, I'm sorry. It was a lot.
Molly, can I have 30 seconds onto that?
Sure.
So just to follow up also with what Mr. Bradley was saying, as far as the testing of the PCBs, I did check with the state about, do we repair our HVAC system? Do we do the testing first? And actually what I got back was they want us to do the repairs first, because the concern is that in the systems might be sediment. And so by getting it out, it could keep the numbers down, type of thing. So that was how they looked at it. So just to follow up on that.
Well, I'd like to comment, and that is, it's my belief, David Clark, for those who can't see me at home, that doing a couple of $1 million in HVAC renovations before you know your PCB status is put in the cart before the horse. And I appreciate the work that Andy did on that. There's quite a body of knowledge which is evolving in Vermont on this now, and the two comments I will make is, number one, it appears that school districts which are contemplating extensive HVAC renovations are looking at an expedited status in terms of PCB determinations. And secondly, I believe that in the very recent past, there was a fairly good piece on 7 Days about the situation with testing. Unfortunately, PCBs are one of these classic political footballs that the legislature has kicked down the road for years, just like public pensions, and hoping that the next legislature will be able to solve it. It's a very extreme example, but Burlington High School goes to school in a vacant Macy's building because their building was condemned. That's the extreme example, but I personally believe that not knowing what your PCB situation is and what steps would be necessary to remediate it if you have a problem, and I'm guessing we don't, I don't know that for a fact, to go ahead, as I said before, and pump the money in and hope for the best. I don't think that's a very wise way to proceed. Buildings and Grounds knows my opinion, but everybody else here does too. Thank you, Molly.
June,
More on what David said. If we're, is there anybody at the state that we can contact to move us up on the list for the PCB testing, knowing that we have a big HVAC project in the near future that we really need to get done?
That's who I was speaking with, who, where the answer back was, if you did PCB testing during the project, the cost of any necessary remediation would be part of, added to the larger construction project, and you wouldn't need to contemplate another application, another bid, blah, 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 blah. But improved HVAC systems, improve air quality, and that in and of itself mitigates measures of PCB exposure. So that was the answer. That is from Patricia, I'll butcher the last name, Copolonio. And she says that they have stated multiple times that we want all we want to conduct all PCB 1A testing after HVAC renovations occur. I expressed the concern of the board to her. They asked what the high school was and the date. This was back on March 31st. I literally was emailing them while we were here in the meeting, the last meeting, and I let them know that we've submitted an, construction proposal under Art Besser, and we're trying to get it through, and I'd like to know what's going on, and I haven't heard back from them, so we'll prod again today or tomorrow.
Margot?
I just wanted to recognize that, the vaping in the bathroom is a very difficult situation, and you all are dealing with a lot in trying to figure out how to remediate that. And I also was a little concerned when we were locking bathrooms and students don't have access to normal bathroom usage, because that is a basic bodily need. And, we're sort of putting this whole thing, putting a problem of a few to everyone in the building. And so just want to sort of put out there that if there are some additional steps that might be able to make bathrooms a little bit more accessible, whether it's a key in the office and they have to get the key and go and unlock the bathroom. I just know that from a few students that there are long lines. You don't necessarily have time to go, and it's challenging all around. I recognize that. Not being able to go to the bathroom is also challenging.
Anyone else have any questions or comments for our principal? Hearing none. Next on the report is finance. We have nothing right now. Pretty soon, we're gonna have a new person in that position, and then we'll have regular updates. ESSER updates.
Molly, before you go on to ESSER updates, I just have a quick question about the deficiency letter that our auditors wrote. They said that they moved the funds to non-major special revenue fund in the amount of $113,356, which was the student activities. Does this mean that that account can carry over from year to year? Is that why they moved it? Or is that a question for later?
Might be a question we have to get an answer
Yeah,
for.
I wouldn't want to.
Okay.
Can you email Andy that question
I can.
and copy me, and
Thank you.
we'll get you an answer? Thank you. Okay. ESSER updates. Andy, is that you or?
I'm on the committee. Do you want me to get it?
Sure.
And then you add two. We talked about two approved concepts. One was for the high school, the HVAC system at the high school. Next steps are to secure the dollars, need specs and bids, plan development permits, and then project approval and submit it again. We also talked about the fact that there are some indoor quality grants out there that might cover parts of it rather than all from ESSER. The cost to redo and access to the high school is virtually not possible under ESSER. It was estimated 1.2 million 3 years ago, but it may cost us more at this point. If we build up here, there is a possibility that maybe we can incorporate access or parts of it, but not the whole thing. Sensors, we talked about maybe 10 at the high school, which would be 1,980 for 10 years.
Sensors, what's that?
Sensors, the sensors like in the bathroom, like for the vaping and that in different sections. They would do vaping. They'd also check air quality. They'd check for anything that's off, heat temperatures that changed. Say your heat went off and before it dropped too low in the wintertime, it would pick up on it and give you an alert. I think we talked about Sean getting an alert one day when he was at the conference in Burlington there, so he could call back. That was probably on vaping, but anyway, talked about insulation, 200 per unit 10 at the high school, and that included the insulation for those sensors. They do motion, noise, air quality, temperature. We also talked about cameras, doors, windows in different buildings throughout the district. Anything else?
No, you just, so yeah, the sensors come with a 3, a 5, or a 10-year plan. So obviously, the longer you go out with the plan, yes, the cost is more, but it's cheaper over those 10 years. So that's where those numbers are. And what we're trying to do is look at a system that we might not be able to do everything, but like cameras might be the second part, and then, a door system on the next part. So they all would be incorporated so that they all talk to each other. Because a lot of times if things don't talk to each other, then it's just more work. So, but that is our big thing. And as Priscilla said, we're looking at some other grant opportunities. One that's it is a long shot, but could incorporate some fixing of driveways or adding onto parking lots like where the buses are, so that it's not dirt, but some type of asphalt or something like that. So.
Any questions on ESSER? Seeing none, we're gonna move on to resignations and appointments. Retiree certification of compensation.
That is.
I think you had Star.
That is on Miss Madison. So where did it go? That is Miss Madison. This needs a signature, I believe. This is for the school district certification of compensation. Allows her to get into the retirement system and go for there. So we'll be doing that. So that's really what that is.
So who's Miss Madison?
Tina Madison. Who
Tina
is
Madison.
School
Okay,
counselor.
so I'm being asked to sign for the school district certification of compensation for Tina Madison, who is retiring, and her last day is June 30th.
Correct.
I've got a question on that, Molly. There's no compensation. She's an administrator. There is no compensation under our contract. That's a teacher contract. That's compensation for teachers when they retire, not administrators. We had that discussion earlier in the year.
This is for compensation for benefits under the Vermont State Teachers Retirement System.
Okay.
Yeah, this
It's
isn't.
not
anything
At some point she was part of that, and so this would allow her to access those funds.
So maybe she isn't right now, but she
Okay,
has
okay.
money.
So what we're
and-
talking about is for her to access her
Yeah.
retirement,
Correct,
plan, not the bonus that they.
No.
Yep, no, we
Okay.
didn't sign about
Okay,
this.
thank you. Sorry for interrupting. Thank you for clarifying.
Okay, next one, Andy, is resignation.
Yeah. Sad to bring it to you, but it's the resignation of Mr. Murphy, the assistant principal here. He's been offered a position at Springfield High School. And, he was wanting to move on, is asking the board to accept his resignation. We're sorry to see him go.
Is there anything we can do? Flatten your tires, I got a lot of men here. Put that in for me.
I mean, John went above and beyond, I think, over the course of the last 3 months now, trying to do everything he could. And
I really do like it.
I mean, and I love it here, and it's not something I ever thought.
Well, Springfield is very lucky to get you. From my experience of working with you, you've done a good job and you take the kids very seriously, and so sorry to see you go, but I hope it's a good move.
I appreciate that.
Molly.
Jason,
So, Mr. Murphy was a math teacher. How long were you a math teacher for, Mr. Murphy?
13 years.
13 years, and an excellent math teacher. And all the kids love him, that I'm aware of. And I'm pretty sure the faculty probably echoes the same sentiment. And for us to, I call it promote somebody to the vice principal position, and then lowball them on money, and then not come to the table with a little extra money when we're wasting money, in my opinion, in other areas. Makes no sense to me when you, I don't want to lose good people, because we're never going to be great if we continue to lose good people. So you need good people to run. And we saw what's going on in the science and everything else is breaking around here. So we need good people to run this place and to improve. Our rank is middle of the road at best in the state. And I thought when, I'll call it again, promoted Mr. Murphy to vice principal, that I thought we're in a situation to improve, and I don't like it. So thank you.
So I'll make a motion that we accept Mr. Murphy's.
what happens if we vote it down?
He
What's his
still leaves
contract?
June 30th.
What's
It's
his
under
contract?
contract.
Going through next year.
He does?
Yeah.
Hey, buddy.
It did say to be negotiated.
Yeah, I thought he was under contract for 2 years with the money to be negotiated for this next year, so. I hate to accept it.
I'm not accepting it. Not that you asked.
Can we renegotiate? Mr. Hawes, I'm looking at you.
From the conversation I had with the Springfield, I don't think so, but I mean,
Yeah, but we have the ball right now. The ball's in our court.
Well, Molly, I need to raise a point with you. What happens if this board and Sean Murphy can't come to terms in that renegotiation? We would end up wasting all of our mutual time. I think what we do is we accept his resignation with regret, wish him well, and follow Jason Terry's advice and go out and hire the best candidate we can possibly find and pay them fairly. I think we should chalk this one up to the cost of tuition. We learned something.
Is there an exit interview being done? I'd kind of like to know if this is, how do we promote somebody any further?
Yep.
And then how do we lose them?
we do have a system set up. Mr. Murphy and I have spoken once before, but we'll speak again towards the end of his tenure.
Sean, would you care to speak about anything? You don't have to, you're on, I get it, I'm just asking, everybody's kind of putting their feelings out here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I tell people all the time that this was a 2-year plan. Was my wife and I were going to work in Vermont for 2 years and then go across the country, and 13 years later, I was still here, and then saw the opportunity to move up and work with John off of the soccer field. And I mean, I've loved every minute of it. And I mean, there's lots of factors that weighed into my decision, and him and I have had pretty candid conversations, and him and I will do a exit interview, and I will tell him exactly how I feel and leave it up to him to how he wants to share the information.
Are you from Springfield?
I mean, I live in Springfield now. I'm from Middlebury, Vermont, so that was part of it. Closer to home.
Are there any ESSER funds available to keep them?
Anyone else have any comments? Okay, somebody give me a motion.
I do. Yeah.
I kind of ignored her, I guess.
Oh,
We were all
There's,
hoping.
okay, sorry, there's a motion on the floor. Hold on. There's a motion on the floor to accept Sean Murphy's resignation, and his last day would be June 30th. Discussion, Priscilla.
Just a question, would Mr. Murphy consider that if we were willing to negotiate?
Go ahead, answer
Go ahead.
that.
I'm not sure what she's offering, so.
I mean, in the process, I started that conversation months ago and feel that process was taken to the point where I had to make a decision, and I told another place that I would go there, and so now they have my word. And
So
I
we all know.
wouldn't be comfortable going back on my
Yeah,
word.
we all know he's a man of his word, so.
It's just, this is the first time it's been brought to us, so.
Any other discussion? All right, let's do a roll call. Is Deb right on there?
she is right up in the.
Oh, there she is. Deb,
With regrets, aye.
Pamela,
Aye.
Jason,
No,
Brenda,
Aye.
Margot,
Aye.
Priscilla.
I didn't hear Brenda. Did she vote?
Yes, she did.
Did you write aye? I'm gonna vote no then.
June,
Aye.
David votes yes.
David votes yes. For what, Mr. Murphy?
Molly, thank you for letting me vote no, because I really wanted to at least put it on record that I wanted him to stay. But knowing
Unfinished,
it would pass.
unfinished business. And it is A, so this is an item that, the last meeting, a motion was tabled, and I have been told that I thought it was just tabled, and we were gonna come back to it when we got a policy done. I was told that it was tabled until this meeting. I'm going to recommend that we still table this motion. It is not, we are not prepared to make a decision on this. We decided as a board group that it needed to become a policy. But a member has brought it to my attention that it was tabled until this meeting, which I'm not positive of that, and I don't have the recording in front of me, but I would like a motion. David, can I make a motion to table this until the policy is written?
Well,
Or do I have to make a motion first and then table it?
well, I believe that you could accept a motion from the floor to continue the table to a date certain, Molly.
Okay, thank you very much for the recommendation.
Molly,
So I would like a,
point of order. It is technically supposed to, like I told you, just be to table the motion. You insisted on adding until the next meeting, and that's why it got put that way when I objected, because I went along with you. But it should be simply table the
Okay.
motion, because
We are-
then someone has to remove it before it can be voted on anyway.
Priscilla,
So
Thank you.
that's-
I asked for a recommendation from someone who is really good at this.
Well, that's what
and I
Robert's rule
trust him.
says.
So, June, would you make me a motion to table the motion for the BLM flag until a policy has been written?
Sure. I make a motion to table the motion for the Black Lives Matter flag until a policy of the Bellas Falls Union High School has been adopted.
Thank you. Is there any discussion, or can we vote on this? I would vote on anyways, no discussion on the table. Margot,
I just wanted to, it's not necessarily directly related to the motion and tabling, but just in terms of how do we, in order to get to a policy, we have to have a policy committee.
yep, we're
meeting.
working on that.
Okay,
Well, that's on the agenda,
okay.
or it's gonna be.
Always.
How do you vote? To table it?
Yes.
Thank you. Priscilla?
Come back to me. Think about it.
Priscilla?
I need to think a minute.
June?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Brenda?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Pamela?
Yes.
Deb?
Aye.
Thank you. The ayes have it. Priscilla, do you care to vote or?
That's fine. It passes. It's just, it should be done right.
So
That's all.
we'll just. Oh. New business. School board retreat ideas. Does anybody have any ideas of a place that they would like to go and have I think one of the things we talk about is school board ethics, and a lot we can make a little agenda. There's no action being taken. It's just a place, a time where we can go, and there's no Zoom and there's no cameras, and we can talk about rules and how we like to see things done and goals, something that maybe somebody's looking to work on that we haven't brought up. We've had some pretty full agendas, so it's out there. It doesn't have to be discussed tonight. One of the things right now is that it's sometimes hard to find a place because things are still closed up pretty tight around here, but that's on there so that if we want to do something this summer, we can. But we have to have a plan. Priscilla?
We could look into whether there's a really nice big room at Vermont Academy that they use, the separate room, like off.
Oh,
like
the
above
Chivers
speed
Center.
jump. Chivers Center, yeah, thank you. Which is really nice. I don't know the cost for doing that, but that might be a possibility.
Okay, thank you. So we don't have to make any decisions now, but that's just something that we need to, it'll probably be on next meeting, just to try to kind of get an idea what we want to do.
A hand from Deb.
Hi, Deb.
Hi, just as an idea, if you want to do something local and low cost, because I'm assuming there's some costs involved in any place else we go. The Masonic Temple here in Bellows Falls leases out their property. It's a low rate. I don't know exactly what it is. I have to check it out, but we could bring in water and our own food for sandwiches, whatever, if we wanted to do that. It would be a low cost and local. That was my suggestion. That's it.
Thank you. So Priscilla, will you find out what the Vermont Academy would cost, and Deb, will you find out about Masonic Temple?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm sure the firehouse wouldn't cost me anything.
Perfect. Thank you, Cole.
Also, when Deb does that, if she finds out, if anybody here isn't a member of Masonic Temple, it's lower.
My husband is.
Okay, teacher roster. Are you speaking to the teacher roster? Andy?
So the roster in front of you are the recommendations for next year for teachers. There are 3 folks on here who the school has interviewed. Still waiting on some paperwork from John, but those are the choral teacher, the math teacher, and a science teacher. Hoping to have those on there. I can have those removed. They were added on.
Jason?
So any of the teachers you're talking about, the math course and the science, they're on this roster right now?
Yes. Well, I can tell you who they are, and we can strike them from the.
I'd like to make a recommendation that if we approve the teacher roster, that we do so without the names of the pending
I wasn't sure if Jason was done. Are you done, Jason?
No, I'm not. I'm trying to, so I asked for this on the agenda. And my point was, when I joined this board in 2021, our teacher to student ratio was 9-1. And in 2020, it was 12-1. And this year, based on it, it's 29 teachers, 2 guidance counselors, 1 librarian. 29, we have 302 students. That's what Mr. Broadley said a couple weeks ago. Our teacher to student ratio would have been 10-1, so it would have had more. And can somebody help me out? Is step 18 the highest you can go?
Yes.
Okay, so out of that, you have 15 teachers at step 18. And I have 2 concerns, and I don't want this painted the wrong way. My concern is if people are getting comfortable in their positions. We have until April 15th to approve this roster, I believe. And I want to make sure, you know, and I talked to Mr. Broadley last year, even the year before that. I don't even know how long I've been on this board now. About improving our rank in the state. We don't have the numbers yet. What we were 15th, and Green Mountain moved up to 9. And Green Mountain's teacher to student ratio is 12-1, and Brattleboro's is 16-1. So
Brattleboro 40th.
And our teacher to student ratio, we're actually 4th in the state as far as the number of teachers per student. So it seems like we have a lot of, and I don't want to say this the wrong way, because I'm sure they're all great people. But if we have so many people and we're not moving the needle, and we just saw things that are broken and stuff like that, I'd like to right size it and make sure we're putting the money to, putting my money as a taxpayer to good use to make sure that we are doing the right things for the students. And again, if the education and our rank is improving and we're number 1, then all right, that's a great number. But I don't know if this number is a good number or a bad number because we don't know our rank yet. And if we haven't improved, then to me, it's a bad number. You lost. So we're already losing, pretty good administrator. So I don't want to keep losing. And so with Mr. Murphy, help me out with the math here. 26 out of 302. What's our ratio on that? So it's not 29, it's 26, right? That's 11. That's 11 to 1. So it is better. So now the question is, do you need those 3 additional teachers? What formula do we have that says we need how many what is the perfect number? How many teachers do we need per student? What is the goal? And for me, it's not about the money. I want to have great education for the kids. Period. End of discussion. I want to be number 1. That's it.
Broadly.
I want to be number 1 too. But again, chicken and egg theory. We keep taking away, then the spiral goes that way. I mean, that's just my theory. For example, one of those 2.67 teachers that you talk about, the 0.67, if you take it away, you cancel a program. And if you want to do that, then the board are able to do that. I don't.
Those teachers are already in the budget.
Yeah. All the teachers in the budget is voted on by a taxpayer, which I'm one as well. And it's accounted for this year. Again, when I bring the teachers to the board for voting on, I'll have the outgoing teachers ranked because I believe that's important to some. The outgoing teachers, where they ranked on the level And the incoming ones, which you'll see 2 of the 3 are way down on the ones that are outgoing. So in other words, we're paying the new teachers a lot less coming in, so we are saving money. Not that that's always the important side of things, as you just pointed out with this young man here. We want quality people. We want to get quality people. So we need to get quality people. You're right, there is a lot of work that needs done, 100%.
But the way I've learned it is that, so we pass a budget, right? And Deb, maybe you can help me out with this, Deb. We pass a budget, it's a dollar amount. That doesn't mean you get so many, it's just a dollar amount to use on everything, right? So I don't know what the right number is, and I'm not here every day, so I can't, it's not my job to run this place.
Can I speak to that real quick as well?
Mhm.
Just from, so one of the big things in the US News and World Reports is AP scores. And if so one of those teachers on there is a math teacher, and if we don't bring that math teacher back, then we're no longer offering AP Calc, because that's one of our lowest in terms of enrollment. We wouldn't be able to offer that. We'd farm that out, and maybe they're taking it on BTVLC, and their scores aren't going to be as good because they're not an online learner. They prefer to be in the classroom. One of those is a music teacher. We're looking at offering another AP in our music department next year. It's AP Music Theory, I think. Having that person there would support that program. You've got a science teacher. Ideally, we're bringing back whether it's AP Physics or AP Biology or AP Chemistry, and again, needing those folks to be able to teach those classes. When we do our 9th grade visits, we have our 9th graders from the middle school come in, and then we also invite area 9th graders in. And one of my selling points to kids that are looking for variety in classes or high level classes is that we're a small school that is able to creatively offer a large school schedule. So we have those extras that bring those kids in, whether they're APs or electives, honors level courses. Kids pay attention to that. We had a young lady from, I think she was at the Putney School or Putney Grammar, and she was looking at a series of prep schools, and we were able to give a pretty good pitch so that she's considering us among them and is going to weigh the financial options, because we have 4 APs that we offer in our social studies department. We have all the way up through AP Calculus, and then if a kid gets there quickly, we can offer, we had a kid go down to Keene and do Calc 2 years ago. So we have things available to us because we have those numbers.
So I have a question, and I'm trying to understand it. I don't want to hold everybody up. So last year it says took at least one AP exam, 25%. Does that mean 25% of students here took one AP exam? It says passed at least one AP exam, 17%.
So I believe that's 25% of the students who took an AP class took at least one exam. I don't believe it's 25% of the student population.
And then 17% of that. So
I don't have exactly what you have in front of you. So
that's just last year's US News. I have that year before. I just want to, again, I just want to make sure that we're getting our bang for our buck. You know what I mean? Because we're all paying for this. I want to make sure it's working correctly. So if it's not, then we got to pivot, right? I mean, that's what you do in business. It's not working, fix it.
I think another, Jason, just to, if I may, Molly, if I may speak, another hugely important factor of our ranking with News and World is graduation rate. And our graduation rate, the needle is moving up on that. And the more we're able to support kids, especially through this time of the pandemic, we're not going to see as much of a decline as we could. And that's gonna impact that score too. So
Margot, did you?
Yeah, I just wanted to, Jason, I appreciate you bringing up these questions, because I think it is important for us to always be examining, you know, not just resting on what we do because we've always done it that way. So I think that's really important. I also think that the school is sort of a tricky size. We're not a small school, but we're not a big school. We're sort of this awkward size in between. And I appreciate what you said, Sean, about, that we are able to offer, and we do offer classes that bigger schools offer. There's a lot of schools our size that don't have the variety of classes that we offer. And I do think that is important to be able to offer students so that we're meeting a range of needs. But it does make it tricky because it does reduce our numbers in classes, and therefore our student teacher ratios do go down because we're trying to meet a broader range of student needs. Just wanted to point that out.
We do have one student this year from Black River. We've, in my time of doing what Mr. Murphy's doing now, I bleed purple and I sell the school as well as anybody could do it. And for example, next Wednesday, I'll be going up to Weathersfield again, as I've done every year, to pitch to their students at, they don't have a designated high school. So again, that's a form of revenue. So to be able to go and pitch and maybe capture one or two of those kids, again, that's another form of revenue as well, at 19 to up to 20,000 a student, and guaranteeing them, or offering them somewhat of a very good education with it. So as you say, it is tough. We are right kind of in that middle zone, small to big.
Okay,
Anyway.
Priscilla,
I guess I needed clarification on the ones that you said you're going to take some off, but also I need clarification on there are 5 listed for math. And I thought we had a half that was coming from a grant, so that we had 4.5 plus a
So
half.
there's 5 on, and then half will be financed.
Half would be, yeah, so
Through the
so
donation.
that would not be a cost to us. Also, I thought I saw the phys ed 67% on the grant thing when we were approved that at the SU.
The other way
Well,
around.
pardon?
It's 13% is through the grant.
13%. Okay, so that makes it whole is what you're saying. Okay. I understand that one, but can you clarify who is not, and are we putting someone else in that place?
In which place?
In the ones that you were talking about?
So they're currently open positions.
Okay, what positions are,
So it's the
in
choral,
addition to these that we're seeing?
so the choral teacher or director at 67% has not been finalized yet.
Okay,
The
but we
math,
are offering that one.
the math teacher with the initials ALGR has not been approved yet. And the science teacher, MAPY, has not been approved yet.
June, did you have a question?
I do. So this list is as of right this moment. But am I to understand, we haven't even gotten back teacher contracts yet?
So
we
we
don't
need you to
know.
approve this list so we can offer them their contracts. So it's not waiting until the 15th to then approve. We need you to approve the list so that we can then draft the contracts to offer them by April 15th.
Which is Friday.
Correct.
Margot, what was your motion?
I make a motion that we approve the teacher roster without,
As written?
without the names under the 3 open positions. That makes sense.
It does.
Is there any more discussion? All right. Is Deb right there?
She just came back. I didn't realize that she'd been knocked off. Sorry, Deb, that's my fault. Oh,
There she goes. Now she's connected.
Deb, are you there?
Yeah, my computer just like zonked out and closed everything. So, thank
We have a
you.
motion on the floor to accept the teacher roster as written.
-3.
Aye.
No, she said only minus the names.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yes.
I'll say aye if you want my vote.
Excuse me, I do. Pamela,
Aye.
Jason,
Yes.
Brenda,
Aye.
Margot,
Yes.
Priscilla,
Yes.
June,
Yes.
teacher roster has been approved. The Heritage Mills guest speaker has not shown up.
Yeah. Oh, I have an update on that.
Okay,
Okay, the update is
And-
that, I'm sorry, you ready for that? It's brief.
sure.
The update is that Mr. DeMuro was hit with had a last minute eviction. Property that they have in Windsor of equipment storage and that sort of thing. And he scrambled to get an extension on that, and they're working on it, which probably took precedence over appearing here to ask for our letter of support. So I'm assuming we could reschedule him for next month and he'd be fine with it at this point.
Okay.
I'll get
All
back.
right, the next one is you too. You had this on as an agenda item. Not sure what you're looking for. So resource sharing between the high school and municipalities.
Yes, actually, the ARPA conversation that we've started in the municipality last month brought this to the fore. Ricky's aware of it. He was at the meeting as well. The concern was a lot of the areas that the citizens would like to see ARPA funds placed has to do with housing and which also, of course, in itself covers things like food insecurity and homelessness and mental health. And there are so many things that the school system does for its students. We thought perhaps resource sharing or at least information sharing with the municipality might actually broaden the usage of programs and make things better in our community. And that was the idea, was wanting to see if there is a desire among school boards to have, say, to put together maybe once a quarter meeting or something with the municipalities of Rockingham, Bellows Falls, and Saxons River to talk about the needs of our community that are not well covered by the municipality, it's the municipalities themselves, but that the school boards have many resource areas that they could talk about and share. That was it.
Okay, thank you. Jason, the next thing is you wanted on the agenda, masking. What will be done in the future? Would you like to speak to that?
Actually, I'd like to not speak about it.
Perfect.
Because I'm done talking about it.
Good. Thank you. We have date and items for next agenda. The next date is April 25th. We will have an athletic director presentation. We are not having a Black Lives Matter flag because we have to have a policy committee and it's vacation week next week and nobody wants to meet. And we are going to have the topic of the Pledge of Allegiance being done more in the high school. We are at director's comments. Deb.
Oh, please come back to me. Please come back to me.
Pamela.
Yes, I actually have something. I've got it prepared, so it'll be a little bit. Neuroscientist Abhijit NASCAR stated, "All lives matter is an intellectual luxury cooked up by couch philosophers, whereas Black Lives Matter is an actual manifestation of the value of life through tangible human actions, which is molding a world where all lives truly matter, not theoretically, but actually." I commend Grace Juarez, I'm probably saying that wrong, I'm sorry, Grace, for her presentation. She presented at the last board meeting and the time she took to research, prepare, and advocate. She spoke up to speak for those who may not always feel like their voices are heard, or worse, that their voice is silenced by others. I see a lot of myself in Grace, and I admire her courage to speak up. I grew up in South Georgia where blatant racism was prevalent. The parochial private school I attended from kindergarten until 9th grade turned out to be a segregational school for white flight students. I grew up hearing racial slurs, seeing prejudice on a daily basis, told not to go to the other side of tracks, all because of racism. I witnessed some of the pain that my Black brothers and sisters experienced with my own eyes and ears. My first memory of someone who did not look like me was my childhood nanny, who went by the name Honey. Honey treated me like family, and that love and affection for my family taught me more than any racist propaganda that the Daughters of Confederacy wrote. Also known as my 8th grade history textbook is the truth. How could I treat her any differently or ignore her suffering? I ultimately left that school in protest because of the blatant racism that surrounded me. My parents thought they were sending me to the best school, but it was nothing more than the white supremacist narrative being disguised as a quality education. I have since done a lot of reading, learning, and listening to understand more the inherent racism that is in our society and what I can do to help break this continued narrative. Some of my closest friends are Black, including the godfather of my children. But I also acknowledge that there is more work still to be done within myself and helping educate others. Saying racism doesn't exist here and isn't a problem in Vermont is willful ignorance. People here may not realize they're racist due to living in a homogenous bubble. I have seen and heard it here in Vermont, and so have my children. In my honest truth, our last board meeting reminded me of life in South Georgia from 25 plus years ago. The racist remarks from board members, either intentionally or not, were shameful and disturbing. I implore all board members to do more to educate yourself using credible and factual information. We are supposed to represent all students and their families within this community. If we willfully ignore the systemic racism, then we are not truly representing all of our constituents. Thank you.
Jason.
Thank you, Molly. It's amazing how much work you can get done when you're not looking to receive credit. And we have a lot of work to do. It's going to take a lot of thoughtful communication to move the needle forward. Thank you.
Brenda.
I'm all set.
David, I apologize. I missed you on the last vote because you're not sitting at the table with us.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to turn my back to the audience.
Do you have any?
For that, I apologize. I would have supported the motion. I'm under director's comment.
You are.
I would have supported the motion on the teacher roster. Okay, but we're under director's comments, and I want to say that I believe that advanced placement is a very expensive luxury in a small school like this. And some people undoubtedly are aware of it, and others might not be, that there's quite a debate in education as to whether it might actually be time to throw AP overboard in favor of dual enrollment. And the argument for AP, the obvious argument that we made tonight is it helps our ranking with US News and World Report. I don't care. I think it's more important what you're delivering to your kids. And I think that if we're going to have a board retreat, maybe one of the things we should be discussing are the pros and cons of AP versus dual enrollment, where our kids get the same college credits that they can potentially get out of AP, possibly more cost effectively, and arguably those credits would be just as well earned as AP credits are. There's a deep and abiding irony here, and that is that this school for a long time was not a member of the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. But when we sought re-accreditation, one of the things that NEASC, as it's known for short, was looking for was not only a commitment to AP, but a commitment to getting as large a cohort as possible into AP. For a while, we did pretty good at that. In fact, around 2015, I believe, and maybe John Bradley would have a better recall of it than I do, we actually made National AP Honor Roll, which was certainly a significant achievement. What was even a larger achievement was that we made it again the next year. And that's even more significant because it was a far smaller cohort. I think about 400 schools total in the US made AP Honor Roll 2 years in a row, for which the criteria was to increase the size of your cohort and improve your scores, okay? Somewhere after 2016, we fell off the wagon. And I do not understand exactly why, but I think it's at least a convenient time to take a look again at AP and try to make some tough decisions about whether we're going to recommit AP, in which case we ought to be recommitting to making sure that essentially AP is available to all students in this school and not just the academic high flyers that we try to attract from institutions like the Putney Grammar School, or whether we do a better job servicing both our students and our taxpayers by possibly considering moving away from AP and toward dual enrollment. Okay, that's tonight's speech. It's something I hope we can bring up maybe if and when we have this board retreat.
Thank you. Margot.
I just wanted to thank Mr. Murphy for all of your years of being a part of the Bellows Falls community, and good luck moving forward. I miss you.
Priscilla.
I'd like to say that all comments are important. I'm personally proud of the student who came to our meeting, but I'm also pleased to hear from parents and other community members who express concerns at our meetings. Both deserve to be respected for bringing their views to us. Consideration and kindness should be our goal for all in every act we take. Let's work for that.
June.
I'm a little concerned because a board member thought that some of us were uneducated in regards to the Black Lives Matter agenda, flag, prejudice. I know we got called out on social media because we didn't agree with something that was brought before the board. I listened to that meeting again after I read the social media post. I don't feel, and maybe this is just my perspective, but I don't feel that anyone was being rude to Grace. I appreciate Grace for coming forward and with her concern and proposal, but I don't think that, like Priscilla's always preaching, be kind, be nice to each other. If you can disagree and still be nice, and I guess that's all I have to say, because that's it. I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. It is,
Deb wanted to say something.
oh, sorry, Deb.
No, I asked you to come back to me because I just wasn't there yet. But I am now. And really what this is, because we spent a lot of time talking about the last meeting and the item that's going to be on a policy committee, of which I'm not. I have like 3 sentences to say, and I'm going to do it now. And it's going to be very unpopular. And I'm part of a DEI committee for VLCT, by the way. I just want to clear this up. Flying a flag doesn't fix a problem. Let me back up. Flying a flag or making declarations doesn't fix a problem. It's like whitewashing the fence that needs to come down. If we want to do something, we need to do the hard work and not confronting our own biases through the work of classwork and inner work in order to make these things change. And so let's do the work and not cover up our problem with a sheet. That's all I have to say about it. It's pretty clear that there are issues, but we need to do them through the hard work, not by saying we did something and not really doing anything at all. Thank you.
Thank you. There has been a lot said about this, and a lot of people have, you know, on social media, made comments and public comments. Some pretty strong remarks were made today in public comments. You know, we all have to, and I've been proving it time and time again, you know, we are responsible for what we say, so we should be very careful what we say. Think about what you're gonna say, because this is all recorded. We can all go back and listen to it again. And the social media part is part of our lives now, which, you know, I think all of us wish it wasn't there, but we all look at it, so. But what is said in a meeting like this, I think we just, you know, be careful what kind of things you say if you don't want to have it come back. Because I think that sometimes, you know, I've had to learn to control my feelings and not say what's on my sleeve, because most of the time it probably wouldn't be good. We had a good meeting tonight. Thank you very much, Sean. Sorry, man. My daughter's been mad at me. She told me I couldn't let you go. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. 8:40.